Hey guys! So after receiving some requests, I've decided to start a YouTube channel and do some videos where I mostly will be talking about current events and politics. Things are just moving so quickly, you guys. You just, every day there's a new development. There's a new huge story. There's just so much information floating around out there. It's just getting so crazy. So I want to do this to try to help us all. We can maybe help each other stay informed and learn about what's happening and what to expect. All the information that I'll be sharing is all publicly available information. You can research any of it yourself, and I would encourage you actually to research it yourself. And I'll leave links whenever I can at the bottom of my videos, so you have resources to look up and to look into and things like that. And I'd appreciate it if you have information that you want to share too. I mean, feel free to share that in the comment section below the video as well. So in this first video, I want to just pretty much talk about QAnon. Who's Q? Lots of people have asked me, who's this Q? And, you know, we don't know a lot about Q, but I will try to explain Q the best that I can with what I do know. And then, you know, you can look into it some more and decide for yourself what you think of it. But so first, a little backstory kind of to Q is during the Obama administration, and especially towards you know his second term, towards the end of it, there were a group of people within the military who were just so appalled by the level of corruption that they formed a group, and they actually had considered overthrowing Obama for treason, and you'll see more of this come out. I hope not in the too much distant future. I mean, I know they're working on all these things, but all of this stuff's going to come out, and if you aren't real familiar with it yet, you will be. So, but they didn't. They decided to wait for the elections and see what happened and kind of go from there. And so that's ultimately what they decided to do. But you can see little hints of all the kind of the wars that were going on behind the scenes in the corruption that was happening within the government and the military and the intelligence communities. There was an unprecedented purge of good, solid, highly decorated career military men and women in Obama's term. It was the largest purge we've ever experienced in the history of our country. But anyway, if you want to, you know, learn more about all that, you can look into some of the writings by Dr. Jerome Corsi or by Seymour Hersh. They did a lot of deep research and have great information on that. I'm not really going to cover that too much here in this video, but so these people within the military and the intelligence community, we call them the White Hats. They're the White Hats. They are the people who see the corruption, who work to expose the corruption, and who wanted to bring justice to these people who are just committing these horrific crimes. There are things going on that, you know, it's just really bad. We'll just, you know, there's things even way beyond what I even know, and the things that I know are so dark and so bad that you can barely believe that people are doing these things. So those are the White Hats and what they're trying to do. So let's move on to Q. Now, Q is the term for the highest level of clearance in the military intelligence, and that's what Q is. Q, now we haven't figured out if Q is just one person or a small group of people, but we suspect that probably a small group of people is more realistic. But just for ease, we just refer to Q as he or him. So now Q, when he first appeared, he showed up on the 4chan boards in early October. There's 4chan and 8chan boards, and if you don't know what those are the message boards that use the old style bulletin board system. Us people who are older and were around when the internet was birthed, you'll be familiar with what the old style message board system was. They have different chat rooms, they call it, different topics that you can choose and go in and start message threads, and people can upload files and pictures and videos there and things like that. And everybody on the 4chan and 8chan boards, they are anonymous. When they sign up, they get a unique ID that they use, and that's the only identity they have. You don't have anyone there who you know who they are. They just have a non-ID basically. And so the people that run around the Anon boards are called the Anons. And there's a group of the Anons who are really really smart, and they have even had some that would group together and influence other social medias like Twitter and things like that. You can Google all kinds of articles on that stuff that they've done. They're actually pretty well known if you are in the geek community at all. But now, when Q first arrived on the scene and started posting, and I heard about him, I looked into it a little bit, but I really didn't take Q very seriously. They have lots of what they call LARPs. They come and they go, and usually their information just doesn't pan out. And so you have to watch them for a while to kind of form an opinion if they're reliable or credible or not. And usually they're not very credible. But now Q, over time, has really proven himself. You look back at the posts that Q made in October, and you can see where, wow, this stuff really happened. This is really true. This came out in the news. I mean, things that he told everyone ahead of time, that if he wasn't the highest level of military intelligence, there's no way that he would have known. So Q has really proven himself to be who he says he is. And another way that Q's proved himself is to he will say that in a message on the Chan board, he will say that the president in so many minutes is going to tweet out these exact words. And if you watch, sure enough, he does. And he's done that several times, and every time the president has tweeted out those words, just like Q said he would. So do your own research, though, and come to your own conclusion, because the Q messages, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of information he drops, and it can be pretty hard to believe. It's like living in some super spy novel. So you want to form your own opinion. What do you think of it? Feel it out, research it, and don't just believe what people tell you. I encourage people to do their own research and find out. Now, I've personally done enough research that I do fully believe that Q is who he says. Q is credible. And so I take the information that he puts out very seriously. Now, some of you may come to a different conclusion, and that's okay. But that's where I'm at. So basically right now, behind the scenes then, what's going on is a war. There's a war going on that we see very little evidence of ourselves in our everyday life. But there's a really huge war going on, and you can see little glimpses of it come out within from the Congress in the form of these memos, the emails, the reports, the WikiLeaks drops. You can get a glimpse into the actual war that's going on, and so you have the white hats, who I explained, and then of course the black hats are the bad guys, the people who are working to undermine the Constitution and pretty much overthrow the government as we know it, and actually trying to overthrow this president and get rid of him. And it's really a scary time. It's really a scary time with what they're trying to do. If they were ever successful at it, we would be in pretty sorry shape. But I don't think they're going to succeed. intelligence community, there's a lot of good people within the intelligence community and the military, and I really believe they're gonna be, you know, they're gonna be the winners. But anyway, so that's pretty much who Q is. And the White Hats, so the Black Hats initiated this coup against the president and our current form of government, pretty much. And the White Hats have initiated a counter coup to stop them. And that's the war going on right now. The White Hats are out to expose all this massive corruption and bring it out into public light and to overcome it and to bring people to justice who are committing really horrendous crimes. So now, why has Q appeared, and why is Q relevant to the extent that so many people take the time to research what he says and pay attention to him? And so basically, you know, oh, and I should let you know too how Q will, when he does post, it's sometimes in plain English you can understand, and sometimes it's in, you know, military code, like that high level clearance I'm telling you about. He'll use code. He'll use lots of code, and so it's very difficult sometimes to understand what he's trying to say. And fortunately, there's people like Dr. Jerome Corsi and people in the Anon community who work diligently together to decode what Q's trying to tell us. And sometimes you don't get the message right away, and you won't see it until a little bit, you know, in the future, and you look back on it and go, oh, that's what it meant. You know, so anyway, so that's pretty much Q in this. And so why is Q here? Well, basically, you know, the president wants the public to be informed. I mean, there's going to be some things happen that are going to be kind of scary if you don't know what to expect and what's going on, and you're not looking into this stuff at all. There'll be some things happen. There's going to be some major arrests on a large scale. There are well over 14,000 guys sealed indictments across the nation right now. That is unprecedented. That has never happened in our history. Look back through history. You will not find it. It is crazy. There will be massive arrests. This will be such a huge thing that to the person who's not paying attention, it's really going to seem kind of scary, I think. And really, if you think about it, the mainstream media has been working so hard to dumb down the population that, you know, for decades, that it's this information needs to come out slowly. It's like waking up from a coma. You can't just pop up out of bed and start running around the room. It has to be a gradual process, and that's what Q has been doing, is to bring some of this stuff out into public knowledge gradually. And so that when these things happen that are going to happen, if we know what to expect and we know who's running the show and who's doing what behind the scenes, I mean, it's really going to be helpful so that we won't be so unnerved by it. You know, so that's why I'm doing these videos, because I think we've reached a point where things are going to start moving pretty rapidly. And I think it's important that for all of anybody who is willing to get informed on what's happening, I would love to be able to do everything I can do to help, you know, in that process. So, you know, so that's why I'm doing these videos, and they're going to get kind of deep. And this is just kind of an introduction to basically Q, to be honest, because Q is going to become more and more relevant as time goes by, and he will be communicating with the public more and more, and probably more openly as time goes on. So eventually we're all going to know who Q is, whether you want to know or not. So anyway, so that's pretty much it, I think, for this one. Things are going to get kind of crazy, and I know this sounds like some really crazy spy movie, but I mean, this is the reality we're in right now, and it is what it is. So I encourage everybody to do your own research. Don't just believe what people tell you. Go out and gather up the facts and figure out, where you stand on these things. Um, and then when things get crazy, if you've been doing some research and gathering up some information, you'll feel a lot better about it. So that's the first video, and there'll be more later. So hit like and subscribe if you want, and I hope you found this helpful. Till the next time.